Welcome to Transformational Vedic Astrology. I'm Michael Mastro, and today we're going to talk about the chart of Carl Reiner, who passed away recently. He was born March 20th in 1922 in the Bronx, New York. And if you look to the eastern horizon, now this is a rectified birth time. We did not actually have his birth time. If you look to the eastern horizon when he was born, you would see the constellation associated with Capricorn rising at 4 degrees and 56 minutes. This rising sign degree is the most effective point of every house. So any planet that's close to it, like Mercury, like Sun, like Moon, has a lot of influence. So first we're going to look and see how the planets are operating, then we'll look and see when they're operating, and then we'll talk about what could be done to remedy or improve the chart. So each of these boxes is one area of life, and wherever you see a multrikona sign means many planets rule two signs. For example, Venus rules Libra and also Taurus, but it's most associated with Libra. Venus means it's all about relationships, and the seventh house is all about relationships. So Libra becomes the multrikona sign, which is number 7, the seventh sign. So 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11 are the multrikona signs. And wherever we see those numbers in the houses, that's what that person came here to work on or focus on in this lifetime. So you see in the second house, he has the 11th sign Aquarius, ruled by Saturn. So he's working on wealth, fame, continuation of the marital bond. You see the number 1 in the 4th house, that's Aries, ruled by Mars, so happiness through family. Then you see the number 4 in the 7th house, that's Cancer, ruled by Moon, all about relationships. And then you see number 5 in the 8th house, all about Leo, that's Leo, ruled by the Sun, and that has to do with looking at the deeper meaning of life. And number 6 is in the 9th house. That's about beliefs and good fortune. 6 is Virgo, ruled by Mercury. Then you see Libra, the 7th sign, in the 10th house of career, focused on career. Libra ruled by Venus. And then the 9th sign of Sagittarius in the 12th house, ruled by Jupiter. 12th house is spiritual growth through letting go of attachments. So let's again look at how the planets are operating. Now, if there are any multrikona signs in the 6th, the 8th, or the 12th house, those are the challenging houses, they become what's known as functionally malefic, along with Rahu and Ketu, which are the eclipse planets. And so you do see, again, that the 5th sign, Leo, in the 8th house, so Sun becomes functional malefic. And then, again, Sagittarius in the 12th house, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter becomes functional malefic. So it does not mean necessarily that they will always cause challenges, just if they are within 5 degrees through conjunction or aspect with another planet or the most effective point in the transit or the birth chart. So let's look at the planets themselves. Sun is at 6 degrees. Remember, we just said it was functionally malefic. It's close to the most effective point, so it has a lot of impact. And it afflicts the 3rd and the 9th house. Now, the house that it rules has to do with deeper meaning of life, which he was deeply affected by the Holocaust, and so he he researched the deeper meanings of life. But also, the eighth house has to do with being able to research roles that you're playing. He was an actor, a director, a screenwriter, and so he was able to separate himself from himself and actually take on these different roles that he was playing as a comedian as well. And so Moon is at 6 degrees. And so it is close to the most effective point as well. And it is ruling the house of partnerships and placed in the 12th house. So again, 12th house is very similar to the 8th house in that you are able to separate yourself from others and take on these acting roles. And Moon itself has to do with sensitivity and giving, emotional aspect to the roles that you're playing, and which makes you very believable. And ability to make fun of himself, I think, too. Now, he was responsible for, very early on, Mars is the house of happiness through family, and he was a very happy person. And I think it attributed to his longevity. He wrote several books about that. Mars is in the house of income. So he can gain income through making fun of his family in comedy routines. He also was in the armed forces. Mars has to do with military, but even there he was entertaining the troops rather than actually being in combat. Mercury's at 9 degrees, close to the most effective point, and it is ruling that house of good fortune and beliefs. And he, as I was saying before, he had a strong belief system because of the Holocaust. It was almost like being an atheist, but it was more of a higher form of belief that we are all gods and God is within us and it's not something outside of us. So Mercury is about communication. So he had good fortune through his ability to communicate in a funny way with wit and comedy. Jupiter's at 23 degrees. It's a functional malefic, and it gives him ability again to separate himself from himself to act in different personas. And he was kind of a political activist. Jupiter is about religion. Venus is exalted, but afflicted by K2, and it is ruling the house of career. So it gave him, Venus itself is performing in literary arts, so screenwriter, actor. Saturn's at 11 degrees, and it is placed in the 9th house of good fortune, and it rules the house of wealth and fame and continuation of the marital bond. So and itself is longevity. So he got great longevity. He got wealth and fame. He had 9 Emmys through his work. He was a very hard worker. Saturn's all about hard work and stability in his marriage. He was married over 60 some years. Rahu and Ketu. So Rahu gives desire. It's placed in the 9th house. So desire to be involved in political things. And then K2 in the 3rd house of communication gives insights into new forms of comedy. So again, he was really responsible for a new form of family comedy, making fun of finding little things in the family that we could all laugh about. Dick Van Dyke Show was one of the early creations that he was involved in, and he really influenced lots of actors and people like Woody Allen, Mel Brooks, Neil Simon. So let's look at the timing of events. He was married in 1943 during a Venus period. Venus represents wife. His wife died during a K2 period, K2 unexpected events, and also during that time that she died, the transit K2 was afflicting transit Venus, so causing death to the wife. He died in June 29th, 2020, during a Jupiter period, Jupiter representing ruling the house of end of life. And also transit K2 was at the most effective point, and it was in the 12th house of endings and afflicting the 8th house of death. Mercury and Sun were right on top of each other, so afflicting health in the house of the 6th house of health. So thank you for listening to this transformational Vedic astrology characterization of Carl Reiner. Again, my name is Michael Mastro, and if you're interested in getting a reading, you can go to vastucreations.com under services. Thank you.